Hello there, I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, health can mean so much. A healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy family, a healthy community. This is Our Vancouver. Coming up, being a good parent shouldn't mean sacrificing your happiness. We'll discuss why that is and how to strike the right balance. And how Chinese food fuels a local family's healthy happiness. But first, can an app improve mental health? Now, apps on your phone and other devices, yes, they can inform, entertain, and even distract. But can an exercise app actually improve the mental well-being of stressed-out healthcare workers? Well, our next guest has studied just that. Eli Puterman is Associate Professor at UBC School of Kinesiology and a Canada Research Chair in Physical Activity and Health. Eli, hello there and welcome.
Hi, welcome, thank you.
Why did you even decide to study this in the first place?
So the origin story, I think it's important to start with the origin story, which was the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone was isolating, no one was allowed to use gyms, no one was allowed to go outside, to the national parks or to any parks. We were advised to stay away. And I was working out and I was using these apps for my own health and well-being at the beginning of the pandemic. And I thought, oh, this is a study. I'm an exercise researcher. I'm a health psychologist. I'm doing really well right now because I'm feeling less stressed because of my exercise. This is my time to shine and do this research study on exercise and using apps. So I contacted this company, Down Dog, and used their apps to complete a study, 6-week study, showing that exercise changes depressive symptoms. Okay. In regular Canadians.
All right. Well, but when you're talking about Down Dog, so what kinds of apps are we talking about specifically?
Down Dog has a suite of apps. One of them is high-intensity interval training. A second one is yoga. A third one is a running app that helps you train with running and interval running if that's what you prefer. And a fourth one is Bar. We completed the study, showed that there's a big change in depressive symptoms in regular Canadians who were not exercising at the start of the study. And as a result of it, I got contacted by Providence Healthcare, and we ended up starting the study with healthcare workers probably in year 2 of the pandemic, where they said, we have a lot of burnout, we have a lot of depression, we have a lot of stress, we have a lot of people leaving the profession and wanting to leave the profession. They know in their hearts that governments and the institutions need to work really hard to fix the situation for healthcare workers, but they wanted an immediate fix, and they saw this article that came out. And so we immediately started this study and completed a 12-week trial last summer, so a year ago, and we showed some really nice, significant changes in depression, burnout, absenteeism, in just 12 weeks of exercising at home.
A little bit of movement makes all the difference, or maybe in a lot of movement in some cases. Do they need any special equipment or anything like that to follow these apps?
That's what's beautiful about this app specifically, but a lot of these workout apps at home, you don't need to have any equipment. You need to have a mat so that you're not burning your skin on rugs. But let's say, for example, the high-intensity interval training app, all you need is a mat that is like the size of your body and the length of your body, so you can do some stretches. And that's all, because it's called high-intensity interval training app. It's the HIIT app, but it's just body weight workouts. So push-ups and calisthenics and other types of like using your body as the strength or as a weight in order to improve your fitness and health.
Right, and what was the response like from the healthcare workers that were involved?
So, I mean, what was amazing is that within a 3-month period, we recruited 300 healthcare workers, primarily from St. Paul's. There were a mix of nurses, there was a mix of administrators, a mix of technicians as well. And what we found was that, initially, all these women, primarily women and some men, who said, I want to work out, I'm ready, willing, and able, about 60% were ready to use it or started using it, who were randomized to the exercise group, were ready to use it and started using it within 4 times a week, 20 minutes each workout. So they did like a good 80 minutes per week and kept that up over time. There was 60% who started initially with it, and over time, by the end of the study, 12 weeks later, we only had about 20 to 25% using it that consistently.
Right.
We still had 50% who sometimes used it, and then 20% kind of never really initiated, even though they said, I'm ready, willing, and able.
Why do you think that is?
As a stress researcher, I'll always say stress gets in the way of all of our best intentions. It's really hard to just have an app that is the only sole motivator, right? That is the only way that we restructure the way we conceptualize starting to work out. I think that there are many other approaches that we need beyond just like the provision of an app that can support individuals. Working out with another individual can be a way of kind of increasing and having a commitment to someone. So even if you're using an app, having a commitment to use the app with another individual would help. Using the apps outside, trying to diversify and use a variety of different apps, or if you're not an app kind of person, is to go outside and do some other types of workouts. So I just think that with all the best intentions, stress gets in people's ways, and we don't know how to kind of think through those barriers that are going to interfere with getting to the gym or working out at home.
You brought up an interesting point off the top, and that what sparked this whole study in the first place for you was the fact we couldn't go to gyms.
Right.
We couldn't work, we couldn't visit with others, we couldn't connect in person. Now that we can, again, safely, we still try to keep all of those safety measures in place, but now that we can, where do the apps fit into the picture in your view?
I think people are still using them and people are still enjoying them. I don't think that, all the equipment that people were purchasing for their home are probably sitting in the corners. You have your diehard Peloton people who will always use it at home and just adore it, and they love their workouts there. I think the apps have a nice position in our lives where we can, if there's no time to do the 2-hour trek to the gym, because think about the gym experience. It does take a while to get there. I think the app provides this, or all apps provide an opportunity to do something at home within a 10-minute framework, even if that's all you have, right? We conceptualize exercises like, I need to go to the gym for an hour-long class or an hour-long workout. And if we can reconceptualize that as to like, I want to do something fun that's moving my body for even a 10-minute period, dance around the room, use an app, whatever it is, I think that there's a way of like maybe using apps more often within the home space.
Well, I don't think anything of what you've told me about this study is actually surprising, but I think that reminder is important. And what about, some tips to stick with it?
Yeah, so I think there are many different ways to stick with it. I think one of the best predictors of sticking with a new exercise program is actually finding something that you enjoy. That is the biggest. So some people will say the biggest predictor is setting goals, which is really true. You have to set goals. You have to put it in your calendar. You have to come up with plans for like, okay, if I miss Tuesday, where am I going to go next? What other day will I have a 10-minute period to do this workout? Goal setting is really important and overcoming barriers. But finding something you enjoy and something that you can stick with will then lead to continuing to do the exercise that you're committed to.
A great playlist helps too to keep
a great playlist.
Yeah,
I completely agree. The right type of music, the right type of people who are supporting you, the right type of people to work out with. They're going outside, green exercise. There's so many ways to diversify, to find variety in the types of workouts that you're doing, and to gain pleasure from it.
Hey, thanks for the inspiration today, Eli. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike in Yaletown, and this is our Vancouver.
So many of you take amazing photographs in our beautiful province, and we always like to feature a few of the ones that we receive each week. So let's start with this one, the Four Fires Festival. It features teams all along North America's west coast racing in Indigenous canoes in False Creek. Norm Stack snapped this shot of 4 of them. Norm, thank you very much. And here's a more serene shot. Omi Sharia took this photograph of several kneeling paddle boarders from Mackenzie Beach in Tofino. Just lovely. And finally, Carrie Dirksen captured this wonderful reflection on a central Okanagan lake. Beautiful. Thanks very much to all of you, and do send us more. Send us your shots by email to bcphotos@cbc.ca. bcphotos@cbc.ca. All right, National Sneak a Zucchini Onto Your Neighbor's Porch Day. It encourages gardeners to share their bounty of the plentiful green squash. Callie McTavish went down to Terra Nova in Richmond to speak to one farmer about how sharing her produce is spreading joy.
My name is Liz, and I'm here today to talk about my zucchinis and hopefully give some away. Would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the big guy there.
Oh, yeah. We're in Terra Nova Gardens in Richmond. It's a beautiful, beautiful, amazing garden, and it is lush and vibrant.
Have you heard of leave a zucchini or sneak a zucchini onto your neighbor's porch day?
I think it's a really apt name because that is what I've been doing. You know, when I see people walking by and I have too many, I say, please take one. I think they're delicious and they're so forgiving. I'm a new gardener and I have no idea what I'm doing, so I am so thrilled that I can grow anything. So these ones are very successful. I love the treasure hunt of looking in the leaves and finding them. I took a basketful to a friend who was having a party, and they were all the gifts, the favors, and they were very much enjoyed. I think I'll take it to Wendy. Wendy is a phenomenal chef. It's so lovely to hear something so positive and the idea of sharing these incredible little delicious vegetables with everybody. I think it's unique and lovely. What a nice thing to be able to pass on to people, you know, and then I think it's a lovely gift.
Coming up, Johanna Wagstaff is going to be here to explain the good things that happen in our brains when we spend time outdoors.
The sound of bubbling brooks, the dappled sun, it just feels good to be out in nature. But science backs that feeling up. In fact, the amazing thing about spending a little bit of time out in nature is that nature as a stimuli both decreases negative emotions and increases positive emotions. Other stimuli only usually do one or the other. In nature's case, being out in a world without right-angled patterns, where we're looking at the natural sort of organic fractal patterns, is really relaxing for our brain, and our brain is much better equipped for this world. In fact, studies show after a stressful situation like taking a test, stepping away from the right-angled architecture of a city and into organic patterns, even looking at pictures of nature, is calming for the brain. The other reason why nature is so good for you is we don't have all of the goal-oriented distractions that we get when walking through the concrete jungle. We don't have advertisements or decision-making about when we're going to cross the street. Instead, we can just let our mind be at peace. We're not thinking of our day-to-day stressors. And research shows that it doesn't take much. Just a few minutes, 5 minutes every day is much healthier than, say, a big chunk of time on the weekend. Still, there's a lot to learn when it comes to the science of nature and what that does for our brain. And that's because there's so many good reasons to be outdoors. Better air quality along with all of the increased mood and decreased negative emotions. So science is still trying to pinpoint what exactly is happening in the brain because there's so much good. So whether it's access to the woods, a neighborhood park, or just a downtown tree, there's a lot that nature can do for you. And now you're science smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me an email. I'll try to get it answered.
Thanks very much, Johanna. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, when children praise their parents, they often talk about the sacrifices they made. Well, our next guest says giving up everything for your children is actually not the best thing for them. With us today is Vanessa Lapointe, a parent educator and the author of Parenting Right from the Start. Vanessa, hello there and welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Okay, let's start there with sacrificing everything for your children. Why is that not such a great thing?
Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so it's so important for us as parents to make sure that we are self-full. It's the most selfless thing that we could do to top our own reserves up in order to be able to show up for our children.
Yeah, okay, so how is it that happy parents then result in happy children?
I think there's a few layers of that. And the big one would really be about neuroplasticity and the concept of co-regulation. So when a parent is well and good within themselves, the way that they show up to an interaction with their child is very solid and very stable. When children are having a hard time, our job is not to join that hard time, but to be a safe keeper of the space around all of that for our child. When we repeat that interaction of the child getting activated about something and then the parent being able to just be steady and calm and available to supporting them over and over and over again, thousands of times across the developmental span, what we see is that children actually onboard internally their own capacity to regulate emotion. So it comes from the outside via the parent to begin with. And if parents aren't okay, that then means that kids won't be okay.
Oh, you're taking us down a little scientific turn there with neuroplasticity. And I was like, where is she taking us? But I get it. I get what you're saying. Now, where does guilt fit into the picture? When we talk about parenting, there can be guilt involved. What if a parent feels guilty putting what may seem to be their own needs? I'm just having some fun with friends. I mean, I should be with my child. I should be there. Where does that fit into the picture?
I think it's very important for us as parents to question, where does the guilt come from in the first place? And more often than not, the answer to that is that it actually comes from our own childhood. When we were guilted for putting ourselves first or putting ourselves ahead of somebody else, we onboarded a narrative or a program about that, which followed us forward into adulthood. And now that we're parents, we're just replaying all that guilt. So it's a wasted emotion. Channel it into something different and know that which is to the greatest good of self will be to the greatest good of all.
What about let's talk about the generation gap here. You know, there are some parents that say, when I was young, and then, you know, fill in the blanks from there on. But it is a different world. It's changed dramatically, even in the last 10 years, when you talk about the advent of technology, the social media apps, all of that, you know, whether it's online bullying or that. What about parents who are just feeling a little left behind in all of that, that they can't really grasp what their child is dealing with today?
I think that's a big reality for a lot of parents right now. And our job is to figure out where it is that we do shine, where it is that we can lead. Do you have a hobby? Do you have a skill? Have you pulled your children into the fold of that and actually allowed them exposure to those kinds of things that you can offer? And even though it feels like a big bite to get caught up with technology and all of that alongside our children, it's important that we try at least to be aware of the world that they are exposed to.
Yeah, okay, so what is it going to take then to make this culture shift, I guess, a little more seamless, do you think?
I think it comes down to individual work that parents need to do for themselves in order to see the world anew. There is no such thing as immaculate perception. We all come into life and the experiences that we're having as parents and otherwise with our own biases on board. And so to really check, like, what is going on inside here and how is that creating my reality outside of me?
Now, you have two children.
I
is that
do.
Right? Not so children, a little bit sort
Yeah,
of teen.
16 and 19.
Okay. Have you actually had those conversations with them? I guess what I'm getting at here is, do you spell it out? I need my time too. This is important to me. Or do you just model that behavior and they absorb it?
I think for my boys, what they would tell you if you were to ask them that question is that they've just seen that modeled. There may be the odd conversation where I really make sure that my needs are right out in front and well known because it's important in that moment to make that point. And more often it's about very subtly but firmly walking the talk and making sure that I am doing for self what it is that I need to be my best version so that that's what my kids get in their parent.
Thank you. I think it's just some really sage advice that a lot of us as parents can take to heart. Appreciate it.
You're watching Our Vancouver.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music, and earlier this year we launched a brand new project for teachers and students called the CBC Music Playlist Challenge. We partnered up with CAMH, which is Canada's largest mental health hospital. The project was all about helping kids improve their mental health through music and discussion. All kids and teachers had to do was to create a 15-song YouTube playlist that answered the question, what music moves your mood? We received entries from all over Canada, and the project was a great insight into what music kids gravitate towards if they have the choice. Some of the most popular mood-moving picks were by artists like Drake, Miley Cyrus, The Weeknd, Taylor Swift, and Justin Bieber, as well as classics by Bryan Adams, Journey, and BTO. But what was one of the most popular song choices from Canadian kids across the country in 2023? Take a look.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right at your baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe.
Yes, an 11-year-old feel-good mega hit from back in 2012, Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen of Mission, British Columbia, was one of the top song choices of kids across the country when it came to picking tunes that move their mood. One class was chosen at random to be the winner of the 2023 CBC Music Playlist Challenge, and our congratulations goes out to the kids at Peter Pitzoliak High School in Kingeat, Nunavut, which is a tiny hamlet on Dorset Island in the Arctic Ocean. Here's some of their mood-moving song choices.
I'll miss the time when you and I were playing basketball. I took a picture of you smiling cause your team had won. You had one finger up cause you know you are number one.
And watch what happens tomorrow when you be waiting for some good news. I've been waiting on some good news. Yeah, me too. The clouds to party, let the light shine through.
I wanna wake up to a better tomorrow. 'Cause I gotta know
There is a trust, there is a truth. It's about time for some good news.
There you go. That's a sampling of the 15-song playlist that was submitted by Peter Pitzoliak High in Kingeat, Nunavut, and that school has won our grand prize, a private virtual concert experience with Ottawa TikTok sensation Talk.
What if I run away tomorrow? Would you find me in the stars?
That's Talk with his hit Runaway to Mars, and he's going to be running away to Kingeat, Nunavut, virtually. Congratulations to that school, and thank you to every teacher and class who submitted a mood-moving playlist in the spirit of improving our kids' mental health. A big thanks to Cam H for all of their support as well. Check out all of the playlists for the CBC Music Playlist Challenge at cbc.ca/music class. I'm Grant Lawrence. All the best to you in music and mental health, and I'll check in with you again soon.
Coming up, we'll find out what keeps the owner of a dim sum stall returning to the bustling Richmond night market as she's well into her 60s. Hi, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, the food business runs deep in the Yi family, from a Chinese restaurant in Saskatoon to a dim sum stall in Richmond to a dumpling business in Port Coquitlam. So learn how the love language of food keeps this family happy and healthy in this documentary, courtesy of the CBC Creator Network.
Fresh spicy fish balls, pan-fried pork buns, pork siu mai, come take a look.
My mom's ran the night market for about 25 years plus, I think. And every year she says, like, this is gonna be my last year, this is gonna be my last year. But every year she goes back. It's a lot of work running the night market. And I think she just loves being there. Like the energy, the people, the hustle, she just loves it. Grew up in Saskatchewan, in Regina, Saskatchewan. My grandpa had a restaurant, House of Yi, 5 siblings in the family, and the 5 of us, we grew up together running the business. We were the only Asian family in our community. So moving up to Vancouver, it was really different for us. And I've never seen that many Asians before until I moved out here. The dim sum fairs, I think that was our first time working in a food stall, food booth environment. And we didn't expect to have so much business, and we got slammed. We weren't prepared for it, but then we definitely learned. And as each year came on, we just did better and better. Oh, my mom was like the strongest, happiest person that you meet. She never had a bad day. She ran the restaurant. She took care of all her kids. She took care of the husband. She took care of the in-laws and everything. So my mom she's rock solid. She's the foundation to the family for sure. And she was just always happy. You never see her mad or anything.
在夜市里面呢，和家庭2个来平衡的话，应该我感觉是2样的平衡得很好，因为孩子是回来帮忙，他们也好开心。我在家庭也每一个孩子也付出也是很开心，我们每个人也是感到很愉快。
When I came up with my business, I decided to honor my dad and my grandpa and named it House of Yi Fine Foods. It makes me very proud to say I'm the first to market gluten-free dumpling company in Canada. My mom did not want me to be in the food business because she knows it's a struggle. It was a big struggle for the family. At this point, I think finally my mom is supportive, but when I first started, she was not supportive at all. It was actually kind of sad because she just thinks she knows the struggle in the food business and she knows how we struggled through it, so she didn't understand why I wanted to go back into it. But she's just like, well, Christine needs help, so she rounded up all her friends and then they made dumplings for me while I was still figuring out how to run the business. I don't think my business would have taken off if I didn't have my mom and my aunts at help. She's just a happy person, so you can't really tell how much of a struggle she's going through. But like now that I'm grown up, I look back, I was like, man, she had it rough. But yeah, she dealt with it with so much grace. She doesn't show it. I didn't have my kid until I was 40. Maternity leave to me was just, it's okay if I didn't take it. I just remember even after the C-section, I was at the hospital and I was still like, placing an order or receiving orders and stuff. And it was just, again, I think that comes from my mom. She didn't take maternity. I just remember she'll tell a story how she had my brother and then like a week later, she's in the kitchen, like helping with a banquet or something like that. And yeah, so she definitely is an inspiration, not just to me, but for all my siblings too. So my mom was able to stay calm running a business and taking care of 5 kids. And I don't know how she does that because I run a business and have 1 kid and I get stressed out quite easily. So I really commend my mom for like keeping calm. So my Cantonese is not fluent and my parents' English, they don't speak it fluently as well. So when it comes to food, I think that's our love language. It's not through words, but it's through like, what did I make for you today? Where did I get the ingredients? Wow, you got these ingredients and that means you must really love me if you went out of your way and spent 3-4 days making this dish for me. And I think that's where the love of food comes from.
他们感觉是很温暖，他们来到我们的店，看到我们一家人，就是你们每一个人就是的样子是好开心的。他说，就是这样了。
The power of food can transcend through different generations, different businesses, different cities and borders, and that's just the power of food. She's saying that this is going to be her last year, but I don't know. Like, don't be surprised if you find her there like 5 years. Going, I don't know. That's just who my mom is.
Now, if laughter is the best medicine, then get ready for a healthy dose of chuckles. Wikipedia is not just one of the world's most popular websites. It is also completely written and edited by volunteers. And on our afternoon show On the Coast, I spoke with a person who shares hilarious entries on social media under the handle Depths of Wikipedia.
Hello, everyone. Next week is the 44th anniversary of the time that Jimmy Carter, the president, got attacked by a swimming killer rabbit in Plains, Georgia while he was fishing, which prompted some of his political opponents to be like, Jimmy, you're crazy. There are no killer rabbits. You're weak. This is why the Iran hostage crisis happened. But then his photographer was like, wait, no, I have a picture of it. I have a picture of the killer rabbit. What more do you need to see? So the killer rabbit attack is my #1 favorite Jimmy Carter incident. And then #2 is when he was the governor and he reported seeing a UFO.
Could you keep up to that? Well, that was Annie Rawarda, who posts on social media accounts as Depths of Wikipedia. And she's here in town to do 2 live shows at the Rio Theatre tonight. And we're so happy that Annie is with us right now in studio. Hi there. Welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about Wikipedia, because we normally go to Wikipedia for, straight facts. So how do you find all these funny entries?
Well, I love Wikipedia. It's been around since 2001, and now in English, just English, it has 6.6 million articles. So there's really an article about anything you could want to learn about, from the weasel war dance, which is something that weasels do, to a list of sexually active popes. Or there's a list of people that died on the toilet. There's a list of fictional worms. I think if you click enough, you can find yourself in these odd rabbit holes that are very amusing.
How much time do you spend clicking and searching and laughing?
A lot, a few hours a day, but I also edit the site quite a bit.
What kind of reaction have you had?
People really enjoy learning about kooky trivia. And so I'm excited to be here in Vancouver and to have a show where I talk about it.
Okay, so let's talk about the evolution then. You started posting. Was this just on your own? Were you working with a team at all when you started with these posts? How did it all start out?
No, I started posting 3 years ago from my dorm room at the University of Michigan. And it took off. People really liked it. And since then, I've started a live show where I talk about both my favorite goofy entries on Wikipedia, but also how the site works and its cultural history.
I see. Okay, so let's talk about, again, let's take it to the evolution. At what point did you say, hey, I'm going to take this offline and maybe I'll try the live shows?
Well, honestly, it started when I graduated from college and I wanted to pay off my college debt. So I kept my job, but I would do a show on the weekend every now and then.
So where?
In New York.
In New York?
Uh-huh.
Okay, come on. Tell me about the venue and how this all unfolded.
Well, they sell pretty well. And I quit my job at a nonprofit, and I'm writing a book about Wikipedia with Hatchet. I just got a book deal a couple weeks ago, and I talk about Wikipedia on stage. So I'm just a big fan. And I definitely... A lot of people will say, hey, but what about how Wikipedia is wrong sometimes? And that's true. It's definitely not always perfect. But what I think is pretty amazing is that if you see something that's wrong, you are empowered to go in and fix it.
How do you know?
Because I edit it all the time. I do this all the time.
You edit Wikipedia?
Yes.
Okay. How do you do that?
You can either make an account or you can just do it anonymously. And you just go in, you add the information, and you have to have a source. There's a list of sources that are acceptable. If you disagree with the list, you can debate about it.
Who are you debating with?
Other volunteer editors. There are a lot of persnickety people out there that seem to really care. Wikipedia editors debated 40,000 words. That's how much they wrote, debating whether to call the vegetable corn or maize. And maize won.
Well, maize won. Which side were you on?
Well, I think corn is a little more normal, but what do I know?
Okay, this is absolutely fascinating. To what extent are you concerned about contributing to misinformation out there?
Well, I think misinformation is a huge problem, and I see Wikipedia as a place where people who disagree about things can come and have debates and can decide on one version of history that they're going to write. And I think compared to some other places on the internet, like weird forums or social media, I think that the debates end up being pretty productive on Wikipedia. So sure, sometimes people will go in the article for sponges and write, "Get a life, loser," but that sort of vandalism gets erased pretty quickly. Overall, I do think that Wikipedia is a pretty good place to check for information, and it's definitely not the last place you should look, but I think it's pretty incredible.
Now, tell me how your live show unfolds. Is it just straight up stand up, or is there audience involvement?
Yes and yes. There is a slideshow. I show a lot of funny pictures from Wikipedia. Sometimes I have fun guests come, perhaps people who have written certain notable Wikipedia articles or are in Wikipedia photos. I will have some audience members come play trivia. I talk a lot about how the site works and some of its most notorious editors. Overall, it's, I think, a pretty good time. It's pretty nerdy. It attracts a nerdy crowd, but I've been pretty surprised and delighted to see how wonderful the people are that come and how many people come. There's a lot. It's sold out the first show, so I added a second tonight.
I love to hear that. Congratulations on that. So tell me about some of the notorious editors.
Well, as you might imagine, the people who decide, hey, I want to write an encyclopedia, some of them are pretty unusual. There is a librarian from Alberta. Her username is Diana, and she is really incredible. She has more than 320,000 edits, mostly copyright stuff, and she's written a lot of really high-quality articles about topics related to World War II, which is really important. And she also wrote a really high-quality article about P. Diddy, so I think that's great. There are some people who are notorious for their persistent vandalism, which isn't quite as good, and I think a lot of the people are just kind of nerdy people who care a lot about whether things are right and wrong and will do this in their free time.
I want to hear more about this book deal where I'm going to write about Wikipedia. Like that's just wide open. Is this transferring now the comedy show that you took from online to the stage and now it's going into a book?
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. Well, I just think that Wikipedia is pretty recognizable. I think we all have at least some relationship with it, and it's pretty remarkable how it came to be, especially when you see all these other parts of the internet that are run by massive corporations and have tons of ads. And Wikipedia is this, comparably lowly nonprofit that's run by volunteers. So I'm writing about the cultural history of the site, and I'm trying to pack in as much of its goofy content as possible.
I love the sound of that. Coming up, 2 Order of BC recipients that have been honored for their innovative approach to outreach work. Hi, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, the Order of BC is the province's highest form of recognition for citizens. And 2 of the inductees are nurses who dedicate their lives to serving others. Joel Ballard caught up with them. He brings us this story.
My husband won't recognize me anyway.
It's the easy banter of a decades-long friendship, forged through their work as nurses on Vancouver's downtown east side.
We've had a very long career and a career together, which is highly unusual.
Ivana Brennan and Susan Giles are 2 of the recipients of this year's Order of BC.
I burst out crying. I just thought, what? And I thought, they've got to have made a mistake. 2 nurses from the downtown east side? Really? Thank you, sweetheart.
The pair have worked on these streets for more than 40 years. Through the HIV epidemic, growing homelessness, and the toxic drug crisis.
It was before the word harm reduction was coined that we were learning about needle exchange and that kind of thing, right? And how to do real low barrier care, which, as nurses, we think we have so much power. We're the nurse and you're not. Well, no, that doesn't work.
To many people living here, Ivana and Susan were known affectionately as Mama and Auntie, handing out their personal phone numbers. With a blue knapsack filled with medical supplies slung over their shoulders, they brought accessible care anywhere.
So you had to have a home, a phone, and a family and friends. Well, they had none of those things. So trying to find people, go to where they are at, might be in a bar, it might be under a stairwell, it might be in a park.
Over the years, the women have seen a lot. Their work focused on empathy, most of the time.
But we have no empathy for mice. Anybody that had mice in their rooms I said, I'm sorry, but
We would
your
scream and run out
leg
the
might
door.
have to fall off
That's
because
right.
I can't do it with a mouse in your room. Inside a bagel bag, if you can believe it.
The Order of BC recognizes exceptional British Columbians who have made an outstanding provincial, national, or international impact. The pair are among 14 recipients this year, including Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds.
Well, I went to high school in Kitsilano High, and so did Ryan Reynolds. So you see, we have a connection.
Oh, yeah.
Might be a few years apart,
sure.
but
You could be his mother.
I know, yes.
A ceremony will be held in the fall. Their legacy forever cemented.
Really sends us out in style.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it really sends us out
And
in
also
style.
recognizes through
work,
us
yeah.
the fact that folks that live in the downtown east side matter. They're
Yeah.
not just throwaway people.
Cheers. Cheers.
Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
This is Sina from Blends. You're watching our Vancouver.
We have been talking about doctor shortages for so long in BC, and it may surprise some of you that in 1991, a Royal Commission report recommended putting a cap on doctors in BC. Here's Ian Hannah-Mansing, who brought us that story. This is from our CBC archives.
It was almost 2 years ago that the social credit government in British Columbia set up the Royal Commission to deal with what had become a volatile political issue in the province, healthcare. Perhaps the most contentious topic at the time, delays for heart surgery caused by a shortage of hospital resources. Hundreds of British Columbians were on the waiting lists for months. Some, like Mary Salas, died waiting. And her husband's frustration was one of many comments which fueled public disenchantment with the healthcare system.
I don't want her death to be a useless death, or to have her death be in vain.
Yesterday, the Commission delivered its report. There were hundreds of recommendations, but many focused on one theme, making healthcare more efficient. Among the suggestions, more emphasis on clinics rather than hospitals, allowing midwives to work in hospitals, and increasing home care programs. The report says more patients can be treated more cheaply and effectively at home, and unless that happens, the system will run out of money. The Commission covered a lot more ground. Among the other proposals, abolish health care premiums, cap the number of doctors and total billings in the province, and banning would-be immigrants with infectious, incurable diseases. Yesterday, the NDP health minister, sworn in just last week, said it will take time to analyze the report.
The commission took 20 months. We can't react overnight.
But the new Liberal opposition critic said some things, like dealing with the delays in surgery, have to be dealt with more quickly.
Well, on urgent issues, I think it's a very weak argument to say we need to study it further. I think, yes, this can form the framework, the theoretical underpinning, if you will, for the kind of comprehensive medical plan we have for the province. But you don't let people die in the meantime.
But the government has made it clear it won't be making those sorts of decisions quickly. It says it wants to talk to many groups throughout the province. And some of those groups, like doctors, say they'll need much more time to study today's report. Ian Hannah-Mansing, CBC News, Vancouver.
At the end of this program, we like to tip our hats to our talented photojournalists on staff at CBC Vancouver. So here is a healthy sample of shots of people out and about, moving around, whether riding around on wheels, playing some ball, even parasailing. And that's all for Our Vancouver for this week. Thanks for joining us. I hope you could join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1. Bye-bye for now.